Welcome to Guys Like Us. If you're new here, this is a space for the questions that start getting louder in midlife, the ones that move the needle from just doing well to actually living the good life. We deconstruct and talk about stories that shaped us, from leadership and legacy to the deep friendships and late nights that continue to move us. We try to do as little as possible surface level talk, although it's kind of fun. We will also do it today a little bit. But hey, this is about some lightly decanted reflections on really existential questions like today, and champagne problems as well. And as I said, today we want to talk about AI again. It's kind of boring, but we hope to make it not so boring.
It keeps changing on us.
It keeps changing on us. I agree. So welcome, guys. This is Marc calling in from New York. On the other end, hey Marc, how's it going? And myself, Paul, joining you again from Vienna. Marc, how's it going, my friend?
I'm great.
You're great. Wow.
Yeah, it's Sunday afternoon. It's warming up. It's like we had 2.5 weeks of insane cold snow. So it snowed and just the snow didn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday it started to melt. And now I was just out on the streets and it's just like all the disgusting bits of 2.5 weeks of New York life, start to reveal themselves.
My God.
And
God.
It's pretty
That sounds disgusting.
It is. But my wife and I and the kids, we snuck away for a little brunch at a Mexican cantina, and we sat down. I was ready to just keep it easy and order some, chilaquiles or huevos rancheros. We looked at the menu and it was like, oh, we can brunch. Like Bloody Mary, $7. I looked at my wife, wait, $7 for a Bloody Mary?
We have to do it.
It's Bloody Maria. Exactly.
We have to do it. I'm not a big fan of Bloody Marys, to be honest. Yeah.
I think, have you ever had it probably means you haven't had a really good one.
Yeah, you always say that. It's also probably true. But I do think we had one once when anyways, listen, another one for the next time I visit the bucket list.
Exactly. We're going to get trashed on it. But anyway, so I left the bar just kind of floating a little bit,
Oh, that's very nice. How many did you whatever?
Entering this conversation. Yeah.
Is it 1 or 2 or 3 or how many are we talking?
Well, 1.5 really,
Oh, okay.
When can you escape New York having 1.5 drinks, cocktails for under 15?
Yeah, exactly. I'm having a glass of wine, although probably I shouldn't, but I'm still trying to get over a party yesterday on all levels. And I'm let's see if this glass of Grüner Veltliner, Zillinger Neuland, very plain but nice.
Beautiful.
Light. But as you almost stood me up, I emptied this glass of wine already in the last half hour,
yes.
waiting for you. So
I
can't drink it now.
You're waiting, dear listeners, for us to record
for actually 45 minutes, not 30.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was very productive in the meantime. I can tell you about it. But just quickly, I'm giving you a short recap of my week, which was extremely uneventful. And not in a sense. Today is freezing, by the way, again in Austria, and I had to go through 2 football games in a massive hangover. So that was tough.
Did your kids at least play well?
Ali played well. No, Ali played 2 games. That was the problem. He played well. It was fun, and that's it. So that's kind of the story. But the interesting thing is, I had a bit of an up and down week. I guess this whole February being super gray. It's been the grayest winter in Vienna for 30 years, like the least sunlight. And actually Thursday, I don't know, one of these days, all of a sudden it was 10 degrees Celsius and sunny. And I was like, fuck, man, spring is here. I was so happy. And then the next day it was back to this shithole. And then you had sent me this article that we're going to talk about. You were in the Silicon Valley. You're going to tell us about this. And you sent me this super interesting article, which was kind of depressing. And it's also kind of the hook of today's episode. It's kind of depressing. And to be honest, I also fell into a bit of a hole.
Just reading that.
Yeah. And I got myself out of it, and we're going to talk about this, but that's kind of how my week was. But let's quickly maybe you catch us up on what you did last week and how you
And tie this in.
came
Yeah.
about this article. And just quickly, guys, before we start wondering, it is an article by a guy called Matt Schumer, who posted this on X, I think, and on his blog and website, and it was all over, every show, every podcast, I think,
28 years old. The
yeah.
title, Something Big is Happening. Yeah.
Exactly, and we're gonna link it in the show notes. A pretty wild article. So, Mark, before I keep on brabbling here, what happened in your world and
Yeah,
how does
well,
it
I mean,
relate?
it relates a little bit. So, I mean, this was the first week of my leadership firm, Libra Collective, officially launching, and so we started off. My co-founder Laura and I, we thought it apt. It's a leadership firm for the AI era. We should be out in Silicon Valley at least and doing the meetings and research for it. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, but I mean, it is still always incredible to me that as soon as you arrive, like in San Francisco, and you just look at every single billboard, on your way from the airport to the city, and it is bananas, right? It's just nonstop AI company. That's shit you never heard of, right? It's just everyone is either just
I need to go, man. I'd love to
yeah,
go.
yeah. It's and then between that and then you take the Waymos and all that stuff, the self-driving
Mm,
cars.
mm.
It's just it's always funny to me.
Bananas.
Um, Bananas, as they say. Yeah. And so, we met with with a lot of interesting firms, one being some AI native companies, that are doing like digital twins, like some that are what a digital twin is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Um that's the first time I heard dark data. Like that's what they
yeah.
need
No,
to
that's
capture.
what we talked about
Yeah,
also in our
yeah,
last
yeah, we
pod
did.
about dark data,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's right. Of
Yeah.
course, it was massive. And then some real big tech companies, that are well known. And I was even at film studio. This one I could talk about, which was Pixar. That was really cool. And
Oh
all of
man,
it.
that's super nice. That's
Yeah.
super nice. But you mentioned to me that also. What was the vibe you were,
So
feeling there?
so yeah, this is what I wanted to share. Like I think the last time I was there was November. The vibe has shifted. I mean, it was always a little bit like what's happening, like people are trying to predict the future, back in November. It's like, well, it's gonna be like X or Y. And this time felt like a low key panic among everyone. They're just kind of keeping together, right? As this stuff is happening on in the background. And so as a tie into this article, something big is happening, which opens up quite literally 6 years ago to February 2020. And he's like, yeah, when people were talking about this strange virus that was spreading around um, China, that would eventually, of course, become COVID and change
Yeah,
the
no one
world.
thought. I really like the line. No one thought that in 3 weeks' time, if you told us that in 3 weeks' time we would be hoarding toilet paper,
Yeah,
everyone would have told you you're crazy. And I think this is, and he says, I think this is a similar moment that when I tell you what's gonna change, you're gonna tell me I'm crazy, and then in a few months' time, we're all gonna be sitting there and not believing what's happening. That's
that's
kind
right.
of how I read it, right?
Yeah,
And it's really, I mean, it's really, maybe just to jump in to quickly paraphrase what was in there. And
yeah,
I thought it was a great hook, by the way, in terms of writing,
totally.
to find that analogy. But it was basically based on, and what I find is, I mean, 2 weeks ago we spoke about how I switched everything to Gemini, and oh great, a few months ago, now you have to switch it all actually to Claude
Back
or
to
actually back
Anthropic.
to
I know.
ChatGPT. Yeah, because Claude with Opus 4.6 and also ChatGPT, OpenAI with Codex 5.3. I mean, they're new models and they really changed something, and they really did. And I'm going to talk about it later, but they also did in my own working. And I
Well,
talked about,
yeah,
I think, last pod, what I did,
right.
what I'm doing now with Claude Co-work, and what I've also done in the last few days. But basically, what he's saying, what's happening right now is that we don't really need humans in the loop anymore for coding, and also those last models already were designed by AI, so they used
Yep.
AI to especially I think in the learning phase and so on, to correct the learning, and
It's writing
so
its own code. I mean,
it's
it's
writing its
crazy.
own code, and that's the reason also why they all started with software
Yeah,
development as the core skill, because it means that we can develop AI faster. And that's happening right now. And so much is changing in his own work, in a sense that he doesn't code anymore. He's saying he just basically has an English text input and it works. And also these AIs, they can work now on projects not just for 10 minutes but for 5 hours, and that doubles every few months. So in a few, in not
Yep.
not a long time, these agents will be able to handle like really a completely independent task for a very long time. So all of this, and then he gives basically a strategy for survival for all of this. And what I thought was quite
Literally saying, like, "Put money away." Like,
which is
it's
also
gonna
interesting, and I want to get to that later. But what really got me, I think, was that in my own line of work, where I'm now managing a company that does selling software development
Yep.
capability and capacity to companies, and we have had a discussion about how we use Claude Code in our company, and we're also replacing basically a different system or a different software and provider right now, and what it does and how it increased our productivity already and how it increased the productivity of our most senior developers. It's just mind blowing to see, basically firsthand. It's also mind blowing if you think if they put them, their focus on the next job, the
Yeah.
next job's gonna be gone or different. I mean, listen, I told you I did my accounting basically all with, Claude Cowork, and it did all my shit. I mean, that's gone. And so if you
Yeah.
think of that, and if you think of a new kind of job category can probably be, made redundant within the next 3 months, then in 3 years' time, also what we're doing. And that's kind of the fear I got, is like, what does that mean? And there's so
Yeah.
much uncertainty that not so much about my own job, but about the world as a whole, what's going to happen? And that's kind of, and now I've been rambling on for too long, but that's kind of put me into a little bit of a depressive state,
Funk.
combined with the funk, combined with the bad weather, to think, where the fuck is all of this going? And
Well,
what are we going to do about this?
I wanna share 2 sides of the coin over an observation here, and we can go deeper. One is that I would say much of the conversation about AI is about subtraction. Very little is about addition, you know? And I think some of the stories, I'm gonna share some anecdotes where I see a addition happening. I'm not an expert, but just as a
Mm,
conversation, but the subtraction issue to me is it's people are worried about job loss, certainly obviously like the structural harm it can do to knowledge work. And it's really just knowledge work, right? Like and I find like
yeah.
this being in the US, a lot of where there's strong manufacturing for now, right? Like and other like blue collar work, a lot of those they'll be fine, but it's like it's the
No, it's what
coast.
we're doing. I think the
Yeah,
article
it's
says every job that involves a screen,
yeah,
basically,
basically.
is
Yeah.
on the line. Yeah,
Yeah. That's right.
yeah.
Um and you know, there are, and I would argue there are great opportunity moments to be optimistic, right? In some areas, right? Like the addition piece is really funny. Like I think what we companies just don't have a point of view yet because it's hard is what to do when how to bank the productivity that you're supposed to get when they have these tools. Like what else can these people be doing? So, I'll give an example. A lot of people are thinking about sales teams to cut, right?
Hmm.
Like, you should always cut poor sellers, right? But you have good sellers, right? And you have to like 5 good sellers. It's for you to say, well, I just need 3 now, because AI is going to, free up, automate everyone else is just the stupidest thing ever, right? If you have 5 sellers, what should they do with that extra time? Go build more relationships, right? And sell on Canvas, right? Like that's kind of what it should be. Uh, on the like creativity production side, I mean, it was just a brief chat, detailed chat with Pixar. It's kind of funny. Like, was talking, one of the heads of the studio, and he's basically explaining how expensive it is to make these movies, right? As you can imagine, right? He's like, if I could make them a lot less cheaper to
Hmm.
produce, then I can actually like do some of these TV series I'm being asked to do, or like, or these different
Hmm.
types of movies I'm being
Hmm.
asked to do. 'Cause, some of the expenses, I made a furry monster, and then someone needs to animate every one of those furs per screen, It's like, "AI could do that, great, then let's do more." So, uh, it's everyone is doom and gloom, and I think there's a lot of, a bit of optimism to go after that we're not talking about.
Let me just repeat or not rephrase, but repeat that, because I think so. Basically, what you're saying, a lot of the conversation, the vibe you were mentioning, and we talked before also the vibe of, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Not only in a financial sense, like an existential
Uh,
one,
uh,
also like, what am I gonna do if I can't do my job anymore?
right.
And it's a lot about subtracting. And what you are saying is, but what about the opportunity this creates,
Mhm.
and the adding of it? And there's and I think this is great, and it actually uh, brings
I'm
up
trying to improve
two
your mood.
thoughts. No, you are, and funny. I mean, this morning when I was driving back and forth from these football games, I was first time in a long time. I switched on the All In podcast, which I kind of stopped
Yeah,
because politically I thought it was difficult.
of
But today
course.
was actually a good one, and they actually talked exactly about this topic.
Yeah, everyone's talking about it.
And David Sachs was saying, one of his controversial predictions for 2026 was that we're going to need more knowledge workers and not less to handle everything that AI can do, because it's nuts,
Yes.
all the possibilities. So I thought that was actually interesting. It speaks to your adding theory.
Yeah.
And the other one was, and is a very personal one, how I kind of pulled myself out of my funk on Thursday or Friday, I don't remember, was that I sat down and I sat down with Claude and just started working on projects that I've had on my mind for a year and a half, ever since I stopped working and in my sabbatical. And I had tried to build a year ago with Gemini or one of the others, and which is, small applications that I thought would be neat to have. And I sat down and started doing it. With Claude Code, and is unbelievable. And I
Right.
started 3 different projects. And today, while I was waiting for you, because I'm looking at a company right now to invest, which is interestingly enough a software company, which I also find very interesting. Do you
Mm.
still want to invest in a software company, or are they going to be replaced? So that's interesting. So what I did is that I half an hour played around a little bit again with Cowork, and it built me a complete financial model on the
Wow.
basis of data that I had on the company, and it built me a 20-page market report with great market size, strategies, opportunities, threats, and I asked you specific questions perfectly. 45 minutes. And as you know, we talked about it in a pod a year ago. I looked at a different company. I also had worked with AI back then. The difference in the quality of the result is insane. It is
It's
like,
crazy.
I
Yeah.
worked with a junior a year ago, and I now work with a fully fledged M&A team,
Yeah. Wow.
including a partner.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's
And that's insane. I can only tell you, and that's insane, and it is awesome. And actually it gave, and coming back to my point, it gave me almost FOMO to say, "Fuck, what do I need to do next?" And let's be clear, it's not your magic box in a sense of like, I would love to have an app that does X, Y, Z, and then you go take a dump and it's done. You have to work on it, and
yeah.
it has
Soon you will be
problems.
able to do that. But yeah, but,
Yeah, I think so. But and then you have to work and you have to be smart about it. And you have a second agent open that is kind of your strategist, and you say, my stupid developer just has a problem here. What do we do? So the other kind of chat tells you what to do
no
and tell the
way.
other thing. So yeah, of
No
course,
way.
you kind of have to do it like a team, right? Not
Right.
in one thing, but you have to have several things open. So you
I
treat
wanted to get my
one
hands dirty
window
with this.
as your programmer, and the other one you treat like your senior technical, engineer, blah blah blah. So anyways, the point is, you have to work with it. You have to work with it like with a team. um and it's work, but it's insane. I have never programmed anything in my life. It's completely beyond me. completely. I've never
I'm
done
so
this.
impressed. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm now doing it. I've asked it to give me a crash course into the basics of all of this and what is JavaScript and what is Python and what is all of that. So now I'm learning that because I want to know what this thing is doing. Because basically I'm always pressing enter, enter, enter. Yes, yes, yes. You can do whatever you want with my computer, which might not be the smartest thing to do. Especially when you heard about Claude bot, and you heard about that. That also came
Yeah,
out
of
in the
course.
last few weeks. So, anyways, it goes a long way of saying there's a huge opportunity with this in how we can leverage ourselves, and that really got me out and gave me a very positive vibe.
Well, that's good to hear. So by the way, I'm envious because I feel competitive because with you, and I mean in a friendly way, because I hate how far ahead you are with me on some of these tools. Um, I want to say two things. One is offer a bit of a prediction. So, one thing is, it's funny. I sat down. So on the spectrum of positive and negative in the valley,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will say most of my conversations were 85% to 90% negative. Like it's
Wow.
happening, but I think this is real frontier stuff, right? So like this,
Negative in what
I'll
sense?
explain. I'll explain. My final drink, a friend of mine started his own AI native marketplace for trading. And he said, knowledge work is all dead. It's just dead. The knowledge work is gone. It's like, and we mentioned software. I was talking to VCs. I was like, you guys are still investing in software? Like, why the fuck would you do that? We're all going to have our own apps. And like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, you know what? He said, basically, you should join, if you can, you should join one of these big LLMs or platforms. They're all going to IPO, and then they're going to get regulated. They're going to become a utility like the government, because that's the only way this thing is going to work, right? Because they're going to explode in value. Like they're either going to have to pay back that insane gap to the rest of the humans that are using it, right? Or the government's going to have to step in and regulate. Like that's like and just like a full on antitrust, which is a cool idea. I hadn't thought about it, but like
Yeah.
that I was like interesting. So that's one flavor, probably the darkest. Like he's like enjoy it while you can. Yeah, it's a great time to be in consulting, Marc. And advisory, but in the end, it's most knowledge work is over. Then you get like those, like in the creativity sense, where they are confident in the business, but worried about human tastes, humans' tendency to accept mediocrity. So, for example, Pixar creates, for the most part, really amazing movies, right? They won loads of Oscars, etc. Like it's a standard that's high, right?
Yeah.
What's coming out, right? And a detail to craft. I mean, they were the first one to create the first computer generated thing, right? So first of all, it's just like, good, call that right out. Well, they remind themselves of that as disruptors. That said, it's like the way you can map a script now to an image and put that out into the world. I don't know if you saw the other thing this week was this video of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise fighting. It's an AI generated.
No.
It's amazing. The quality is crazy.
You send me the link. I also put it in the show notes.
Yeah. It's like you're like, wait, what is that? Right? It's like that never happened, and it's surreal. It's also not great, but
fair enough.
half of the shit on Netflix isn't great, and there's still like 80% of it's terrible.
So what they're afraid of is that there's so much content coming
out there, right?
That basically swamps people's attention spans,
right?
So that you can't even stand out with great shit anymore. Which I'm not sure, to be honest.
Well,
I'm not sure I'm buying into this.
It's a concern.
Fair enough.
I would say that the biggest insight I walked away from, which relates to this article too, which I'll call and I believe this, that we could be fast approaching a crisis of meaning. And what I mean by that is I always said, actually was reflecting this on my last job, 14 years of management consulting, right, and this stuff. And I said, what did I actually learn? And I think in the end,
the question every management consultant ever asks, always asks him or herself.
I think in the end, in the end, it all comes down to two things for people: it's money and meaning.
Yeah.
And very often we take jobs with lots of money, and the meaning dissipates sometimes, and you get a lot of meaning, especially nonprofits and not a lot of money. It's amazing if you keep it in balance.
Yeah.
For the jobs that are for people, especially, there are many, many people whose jobs are their meaning, and now it will be automated and taken over by an org. That is an incredible conscious, like effect to their identity and who they are,
Mm.
and massively widespread as a thing, especially in these big tech organizations where, they've studied so hard to master code, to master this, and now they're all working to put themselves out of jobs. And that to me is a really interesting idea. And even I don't know if you have this experience, like playing with these tools with Gemini, with Claude. I ask it pretty sophisticated questions sometimes, I mean, if I may say so. And when I do that, I think I'm giving them my wisdom. I'm giving them my knowledge. And now it's gone. They've taken it, right? Like it's just there along with everything else
So,
out in the
I
world.
mean, but it's interesting because I think we're almost closing the loop to our episode 2 weeks ago when we said we're going to talk about the philosophical part of this,
Yeah.
and what you just, what I heard you saying is, in the presence of the abundance that AI is going to create for us in terms of the work
Yeah.
and the output, and it means, and I read it somewhere today, it means unlimited output and
Yeah.
unlimited productivity. What are
Mm.
we still here for? And what are we gonna
Mm-hmm.
do?
Mm.
Um, I'm kind of okay with this, to be honest, when I think about it, because I could sit at the beach, but maybe I'm saying this right now. But I think it's a very interesting one
Well, I think
that you're
that's
bringing
just
up.
it. I mean, I think I was mentioning like you and I know how to fuck off really well, right? I mean, we know that
Yeah,
we
but I don't know
we
if you can do it forever either, to be honest. And finally
no,
enough,
but
I've fucked off for the last year and a half, more or less, and I started to feel an itch lately again to do something more. So I think there is a limit to that as well, and I'm
it's
pretty
not
good at
that you
it, I
won't.
think.
Yeah, it's not that you won't make or well. That's the other thing. So yes, there's yes to fucking off, and I think like we know how to do that. And yes, of course, we need worth and meaning and all those things. And you're searching for that, or you found some of it, right? But it's not um, I I think you know how to balance and regulate yourselves. I worry a lot about other people who don't know how to do that, and I
No,
know
I
many of
fully
them.
agree, and I think it's going to be.
You know,
I mean, also referencing back to another episode where we spoke with Johannes. Remember, the stress buster. It's going to be so important that we know ourselves and know how we are wired,
mm,
because yeah, it's gonna fuck up a lot of people. But hey, I wanted to bring us back to, what this means for us and what,
yeah,
we and guys like us could and should be doing at the moment. Because I think we kind of alluded to this, or at least I did, that I also had that funk and I understand that about the meaning. And what it mainly does is not so much that I'm afraid that my job is gone, because I don't have a specific job at the moment. What worries
convenient.
me, what worries me is that I don't know how the world's gonna look like in a year or two from now. And that makes decisions like, for example, investing into a company or buying a company or starting your own business very difficult. That's my number one challenge. That I really,
Yeah,
and I mean this. I think we are in front, and with smarter people than us have said this. We are at the cusp of a huge change, and a change that we have generations haven't seen. It's
yeah,
almost like when we invented fire or discovered fire as humans. And
totally.
so, what does that mean? That's number one. Number two is, am I leaning into AI as a business idea, as a thing I want to do, like you are right now, in a
Mm,
sense, right?
hmm.
Um, or am I doing the complete opposite and lean into the physical and relational? We talked about that as well, before, and go
Yeah.
completely on the other end of the spectrum. So that's another of those questions, and,
All right.
and they
Well,
kind of get philosophical again. But so what?
let's
What
get
do you
practical for a
think?
sec.
People should. Yeah,
So
exactly.
so okay. So look, obviously, I took a big risk, built a business for this moment. sure, trying to build a business for this moment. I still am keeping a lot of cash away. I think I'm gonna liquidate some assets just to have like a larger than normal stash that
Mhm.
I would have just in case. Um, I don't period. Like I like that's the first thing.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, I'm the second thing is um I am actively I don't know, actually no, that's it. I'm just hoarding cash right now.
Okay.
Like I made a bet uh, I made a bet on
Interesting,
the AI
but
and a bet
that's one of
against
the
it's the
things I
hedge,
think
actually. It's a funny
that's
hedge.
one of the things Schumer has been saying, and I can also share from my end. I'm looking right now. I mean, number one, my current project, as you know, is running out in the next weeks. End of March,
Mm,
and that means also cash flow is gonna dry up again, and that's fine. That's how it works. Sometimes there's cash coming in, some times there isn't, but usually when cash stops coming in, I get to be a little bit more defensive when it comes to spending, and I've
right.
thought about, or I entertained an idea of investing again in myself in a personal development thing. It would have been,
Mm,
quite a large amount of money, and I haven't decided yet. But I'm leaning towards no, because I'm thinking,
mm,
okay, with that kind of money, how long does it, what's the runway I can buy myself for it? But even more so, I'm thinking, if I take this amount, and let's say for the sake of the argument, it's 20,000 euros, okay?
mhm,
Um, what can I do with 20,000 euros to build something? Or to try
mm.
out something.
That's interesting.
And I think that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now, because um and 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 that's also what this guy has been saying, and I can say is really true for me. Guys, go out, just fucking buy subscriptions for these models.
That's
Don't
right.
be greedy there. I'm spending at least 100 to 200 bucks a month on subscriptions, and I change
Us
them all
too.
the time.
Yeah.
And I spend more now on Claude, because it takes a lot of tokens to program shit. And I put my credit card there, and the fucking the ticker is running, and I'm probably gonna spend 200 bucks a month for Claude at the moment. But that's fine. It's still nothing.
Mm,
In the
mhm.
past you would have had to get a programmer and pay them 80 bucks or 120 bucks an hour, and
And
now
you're
you
just
pay
having fun,
200
right?
a month,
I mean,
and
it's
I'm
just
just
good
having
stuff.
fun. So do this and do this, and this guy says for an hour
Yeah,
a day, for however long. It is insane, and so you need to get yourself, and whatever that means. I think for everybody out there who is in a job right now, and most of our listeners most likely are knowledge workers, and I mean,
totally.
you can leverage yourself. You can be like, so much better than your. I mean, right now I think there is this arbitrage that so many people are looking away, or had one bad experience 3 months ago, or are still using the open version of ChatGPT, which is basically miles away from what the new things
Uh,
can do. So you
totally.
can be like, you can outsmart your coworkers, you can outsmart your competition, you can outsmart everybody by just fucking using this shit. And that's an awesome
Can I also
opportunity.
add, like yeah, like, play, etcetera, 100%. And, the what's the Justin who's the NVIDIA CEO? Um,
Jensen
what's his
Huang.
name? Thank you, Jensen Huang. What do you say? He's like, "Your job won't AI won't replace, people take people's jobs. It'll take people's jobs who people who don't know how to use AI's jobs." Like, which
Yeah,
I think is
exactly.
really
No,
fun.
no, I think that's
That's
great.
it.
That's
That's
exactly
right.
what it is.
That's it.
So I think that's exactly what it is. Go out and play with it. And there is so much more to it than these chatbots, guys. Because I can tell
Yeah,
you, there's
I know, I know.
what they can build for you. I mean, crazy.
Okay, so what I gotta tell you a story now. Um,
No, story time.
like, which is really a story time, because it relates to part 2 of the human connection piece, right? Which you just
Okay.
mentioned, right?
Mhm.
So, one of the questions I've been asked recently by, clients right now is very much around, okay, what do we do about entry level work? And what type of profile of people should we be recruiting for in the future, right? Um, and to get smart on this, I thought, you know what? Look, what kind of schools are there that are coming up, right? That could perhaps offer signals of the future, right? And I attended orientation to one of them 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was called the Alpha School,
Mhm.
and basically, I'm going to show you Alpha School. Here it is. you got to look at this. It's its icon is basically like a bird, a polygon bird that like has digital wings. You know, it's
It looks
hilarious.
awesome. Yeah.
It actually does look pretty cool. Here's the theory of the day, right? Like at Alpha School, right? It's a mastery-based, AI-driven approach which allows students to crush their academics in 2 hours. Basically, you spend 2 hours a day on a fucking iPad with AI, right? And you know what you do with the rest of the day?
No.
Life skills. So basically, like financial literacy, storytelling and communication, like prompting, like this kind of shit, right? How to set a table, looking someone in the eye. And first of all, I went to this thing, and man, I mean, this is right by the seaport in the financial district, right? Like,
Hmm.
you walk in there, and it's like either a science fiction movie or an SNL skit. Like blonde hair women, like these people don't eat. Like the waist, like this, right? Rocks of jewelry on their hair, blue crystal eyes, you know. And they're like, "Oh, Mark Winter, yes, please, right up there." And we go into this room, and
Sounds a bit scary, to be honest.
dude, I'm sharing this with you like in because it's a combination of it, right?
Yeah.
And loads of plastic surgery and this stuff, and and all these big tech and entrepreneurs parents are in
Yeah.
the room. And so the way they did orientation, they assumed, look, you've probably heard about us. It also has a billionaire president who runs it. He was there talking about the schools, and they said, look, we can you can hear from us, or even better, you can hear from the students. So the students get up there, and the first school is started in Austin. So this is the New York chapter. To start a chapter, you have to have 25 families who want to buy in. 25.
Hmm.
So they brought in some of these parents and the kids. And the kids were like, "What do you do?" Right? And the first kid's like, "Well, I'm CMO of my vending machine company. I own 20%," and like, yeah, this kind of stuff, right?
Oh my
And
God.
the other one's a president, and you're like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" It's like full like hustle culture, as we say, right?
Mm.
And and then the parents would get up there, and the parents were all like, big tech, a little funny looking. And then there was this one, and I was with a dear friend, and she um, was a booker, like for primetime TV shows. That
Yeah.
was like in a past life for that was her boss. And so she's Googling every parent. It was like instinctual, like, like let me just like see who they are, etc. Like this one person, this one woman, I mean, this was her Instagram where she's advertising a new product, which has to do it's the ad just says the vagina, but look at the paragraph. It says introducing, would read out loud. Introducing VS01 vaginal symbiotic, our first vaginal health innovation clinically validated to establish an optimal vaginal microbiome.
Here we
And
go.
interesting.
But
But like
what's your?
five
I
of them.
mean, not to cut you short, but actually, I want to cut you short here. What's
Yeah, yeah.
your learning? I mean, what's the takeaway from
So
your
yeah,
AI
so I was gonna get there.
driven school
So let me land the
visit?
plane. So part of me while they were talking, I was like, I need to send my son here right away.
Hmm.
Like
And
because it
another
has a
part,
point of view. I was like,
yeah,
this is the worst
of
future I
course,
can
I would
imagine.
I would feel the same. And the other
Right?
part,
The other part, I was like, this is the worst future I can imagine. Like I need to leave immediately. This is a cult, and
interesting,
it's gonna kill my kid.
interesting.
But because it places a bet, and it's interesting. The reason why I wanted to show the profile of these people, right? Because obviously they're entrepreneurs or vanguard, right? And they're making a bet that the world is going to fundamentally change, and therefore my kids should be prepared for that world. A bet to the tune of $65,000 a year, which is still a bet.
Yeah, no, no. I mean, I think that's fair, and I mean that's a big part in if we think about what guys like us could and should be doing when it relates to your children, I think this is one of the most difficult ones, because what I was always joking, I'm joking with them. It's like I want them to learn a trade, right? So that one becomes
Yeah.
a carpenter, the other one becomes, I don't know, a vet, and the third one maybe a massage therapist. I don't know, because those things are. I mean, do you want to be massaged by a Tesla robot? I don't think so. So there's
Dude,
a few things.
sex robots are absolutely
I agree with you, but I think there's gonna be a premium. There's gonna be human premium on that for sure. So in any case, what do you tell your kids? And I think it comes back to um, those basics about, how can you keep a relationship? How do you look someone into the eye?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
really to hone into what's really human. And I personally think that's also a responsibility that we can take as parents, and we can teach them. We don't need a school to teach them that, in a sense, right? You can do that. And if you think about that, we can do
Yeah.
that, and we can do that by not allowing them to, play Minecraft for 6 hours a day, and only be connected in a Teams chat with their friends and so on. So and force them outside and into the forest and whatnot. So I think there is something around there, and I don't. Maybe that's a different episode on kids. Um, and
No,
I
but
want to land the
it's
plane
an
on this.
important thing to be aware of. Go on.
Absolutely, but let us land the plane on this episode, before we jump into the idiot and Terminator of the week. I think, as we were so practical in terms of tips, right? And it's a bit of a
Mm.
mixture of what Matt and Mark and Paul are thinking. So one is what he says, and you said, looking at what you're spending and what you would do if something really happened, and how much of a runway you have. I think is a smart thing to do
Yes.
in uncertainty. The other thing that I had said is, get into those tools and just do it. And maybe, and I was just thinking, a way of doing that is twofold. Think of things and tasks that really piss you off, like my accounting that I have to do, that you can automate, which is kind of the boring part of
By the
AI.
way, which is such great advice.
Which
Such
is
great
great.
advice.
And the second one though is, think of things you always wanted to do and build,
Mm.
and sit down and start them like a hobby, like a project. Like, I always wanted a certain type of app that tells me something about nutritional supplements, and I had this idea for a year, and I'm now starting to build it. Think of those kind of things. You can build an app that can do whatever the fuck you want to do because you've never found it, or you were too lazy
Mm.
to look. Think of something you want to build and get into that building mode, because in the end we just need to be adaptive. We're not going to be the ones who decide the fate of the world, but you want to be in a position where you understand what the fuck is happening. And I think that's what we can prepare ourselves for right now.
And I think,
Anything
to
to
end
add
on
to
a
that?
bit of, I do, just to build on your last point. The invitation to all this is creativity. I think, and the thing that we have to learn, which is really exciting probably for people like us, but not so natural for some others, right? Is actually, this is the perfect time to build your creative muscle. And actually, if you want to survive in your job, that's the perfect time too,
Absolutely.
because it's the answer economy. So new
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah.
your savior's new. And it's funny. I'll close with this little anecdote, just with my little visit to Hollywood. I shared just a practical tip for some writers who are scared about getting replicated. Right. I was like, your job is to create something never seen before. Right. Here's an idea. If you're working on a script, you throw it to Gemini or Claude and ask for potential solutions. And it's going to spit out some ideas, and those are the ideas you don't do. Like
That's a nice one. That's a very nice one. It's so nice. You say, the driver for this is creativity. I always say my driver for all of this is just laziness, because I just don't want to do so many things, and this thing can do
both
it
can be
for me,
true.
for basically free. It's amazing. Hey, listen, that's kind of mine. Do you have a Terminator and idiot of?
I do. I do. I
What do you want
think
to start
I'm
with?
gonna go Terminators first. I gotta tell you this. Um, I think Waymos are the greatest things, are the best possible invention, like, I've had
Did
since
you drive a Waymo
AirPods.
and a Tesla both?
I didn't drive the Tesla,
Huh.
but, I just took the Waymos, and I just, like, why? Like, I'm so excited about not driving, except for, like, awesome cars in the future. Like, I never wanna drive. Like, if a Waymo can take me, and when you can
Dude,
read,
amazing. All right. I
like,
mean,
that's
check,
it.
check.
Like, it's hands down the best thing you can imagine, and, it's safe, gets you there, and I'm like, "Oh my god, everything should just be like that,"
100%.
and I'm
I'm
ready
with
to
you, my
shred my
friend.
hand in my driver's license and,
Awesome.
take it from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice one. That's so.
What about you? You
Mine
have a
is
Terminator?
yeah. You know what? I spent the whole day today in my kind of the other half of the day after watching sports outside, the little boys playing soccer. I then watched the Olympics, which was beautiful, by the way, because the weather in Italy
Uh,
is amazing.
yeah, of
And
course.
I watched skeleton and biathlon and all these things, and ice skating and shit. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And I just think all these guys are fucking Terminators. I think is amazing, the athleticism and what's happening there. It's also beautiful games. I think the Italians are putting on a great show, at least on TV. I don't know behind the scenes. And I heard that the medals are shit because they kind of
The
ripped or
medals are
whatever.
shit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Whatever.
anyways, I think these are my Terminators. Very simply, very simply.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's very good.
And listen,
My
I
idiot.
also have an idiot.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. You
Should
go
I go?
first.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You go ahead. Yeah.
Fine. So I had to take the red eye back from San Francisco. I have to tell a plain story. It's just an idiot, world class
Oh,
idiots, several of them.
yeah.
What is your belief on etiquette? Like, you know, the thing with the San Francisco flights, right? New York, San Francisco,
Yeah.
they're like shuttles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They run every hour, right?
Yeah.
But
Mm.
it is so long. It's still 6 hours, 6.5
Yeah.
hours back,
Yeah.
right? And everyone tries to bring in their luggage, right? And their overhead, it fills up like hell, right? And then, if
Yes.
if you're row 7, sometimes your luggage, you have to put it on row 14, right?
I hate that.
Everyone hates that, right? The etiquette, the guys who are in row 14, even though I'm in row 7 and my luggage is in row 14, right? The right etiquette is if you're in row 14, sit down. The guy in row 7 has to go back, get his luggage, right? And leave first, right? It's not that if you're 14, you leave first, while others have to go get their luggage. You know what I mean? And so
I know what you mean, but I'm not sure I'm agreeing with you. But
I
anyways,
know! You're the idiot.
if you're such
What?
an idiot that you can't make it on the plane on time to put your
I
luggage in
did. I
first,
did. No, what
that's why I'm
happened was
always
is that
first. I
what
never
happened
put
was,
my bags in the. I'm like,
dude,
I'm the
I'm with you.
idiot that is. I'm gonna put it below my because I hate that. I hate because it never
Everyone
works
hates
that
it.
you go back because everyone's like, the stream is flowing
No,
outwards. It's like a
dude, no
fucking
one wanted
you
that
lose.
either, but, can I
I
just
put
tell
it
you?
under my feet.
When
I
I
don't give a
walked
shit.
in, well, I also was just a carry-on for the week, so I didn't have to check in my luggage, A, and then B, when I walked in, in the luggage above my seat, they had all the, life vests. So, like, I
Oh
had to put it back.
fuck! I hate that.
Yes!
All right, okay, that's okay. Fair enough. You know,
Yeah,
we are on episode 30 today, and the idiot
okay.
has always been my biggest challenge, right? Because I genuinely, and I think this is how balanced I have been in my life lately. I genuinely didn't have a person that I thought, I mean, other than politicians and stuff, like that I encountered in my life that I thought, what a motherfucking idiot.
Did that change on this
Today,
episode?
yes, it changed in this episode. It changed in this episode. Unfortunately, I'm not going to talk about it maybe at a later point, but I just wanted to share with you the fact that finally I have an idiot finally worthy of this section.
Because I
And that's
know
it.
the story and I also know why you're not sharing right away, I just wanna say I'm in violent agreement with you.
This was lots of fun.
It was.
I talk to you soon, my friend.
Cheers.
Ciao.